Let's talk about missions. Let's walk you through what God is doing in our ministry. Journey with us to the mission fields. Allow us saturate your mind and hearts. Get up and close with our close to 2,000 missionaries serving in over 1,600 mission fields in 19 countries across the world. Let us share with you the challenges we face and the victories we've made through the power of God. Let us take you inside EMS.
Welcome to this segment of your favorite show, Inside EMS. Inside EMS is a program which carries you on the journey of activities carried out by EMS as an organization. So I am Williams Glory, and with me today on set is Ilya Peter, you're welcome. So Ilya Peter, I gather that you work with EMS.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so tell me what your role, the role you play as an EMS worker.
Okay, so when people hear about EMS, the first thing that comes to their minds is sending missionaries to go to unreached places and unchurched places, to plant churches, to disciple converts, to baptize them, build a new church in a place where the church never existed, and all of that. But for us as a ministry, the gospel is holistic. So over and beyond just winning souls, and making disciples, we have ventured into helping people to grow their lives in every area, holistically, so economically, socially, and what have you. So if you have been following trends in Nigeria, you would find that from a couple of years ago, there has been a lot of violence being perpetrated against Christians. Yeah, so there has been a rising tide of persecution. And so as a ministry, God put it in the heart of the leaders to come up with a way of supporting Christians who are facing intense persecution, through helping them in the areas of supplying them with food or shelter, or assisting their widows and the orphans and that kind of thing. So what I do as a missionary is humanitarian. Okay? Yeah, so we reach out to these displaced people, and we do so, and that is our way of encouraging them, strengthening their faith, supporting them and showing them the love of Jesus Christ. So in the course of our work, you would also find that we not only reach out to the persecuted church, we also find people who are also in the midst of this sort of crisis, who are not necessarily Christians, and then we reach out to them. And that has actually been our way of reaching people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So it's a two-way thing, right? We're strengthening an already existing church.
Okay.
And on the other hand, we're showing people about the love of Jesus Christ. So for those who are not really Christians, we're showing them that yes, the love of Jesus Christ is practical, and we are showing it in this way by helping you in your time of need and pain.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So from what you just said, I'm assuming you attended the seminary.
No, I never went to a seminary. So yeah, I never did. I went to a secular school.
Okay. What did you study?
I studied English and literary studies.
And you're working with EMS.
Yes.
Okay, so how does that merge. How comes that you studied English and then you decided to now work with EMS? I thought that those working, or some people have the notion that people who work with EMS have to be people who have studied like missions in the seminary.
Every field of study is precious in God's sight. It's valuable. It's a raw material in His hands that can be used, right?
Yeah.
When I was studying in the university,
Yeah.
um, I knew that God was calling me into missions,
Wow.
even though not necessarily in the area of humanitarian aid. Okay.
Okay.
So for me, why I was studying English was so that I would find ways of sharing the gospel comprehensively and in a compelling manner. You know,
Okay.
so because I believe that the gospel is shared in words.
Yeah.
So, and it's about communication. I strongly believe that if you are going to reach out to the person, you also need to communicate the gospel
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so um, I've always known that I'm a missionary even though I'm studying English.
Wow.
You know, so I believe that that would help me to communicate the gospel. That would help me to explain the gospel. So I never saw it as I don't see those I don't see my studying English and then doing missions as two disconnected things. Rather, I
Okay.
see a connection between those two.
Okay, that's an amazing way to view things. So I would want to know the challenges you faced, being that you're young, and then you studied English, and then you are now working with EMS. Is like, what are the challenges you've had to go through as a young EMS worker?
Um, so one of the things I saw when I came in to start working as a missionary in EMS was the fact that um, almost all of the people I met were older people. So that kind of messed up my mind.
Yeah,
And at some point, I felt I was in the wrong place
I can really
because this
imagine.
is not something for young people.
Mm.
But of course, I've gone past that thought. So that was there. And then one of the challenge I've also encountered is, when you go into a place and then they just see you, they size you up, they see that you're a young person, they can easily want to dismiss uh, who you are and whatever you have.
Mm.
So that has been a challenge for me as a young person. And a lot, sometimes I even try to avoid indicating that I am a missionary, because people will just want to start pitying you.
Okay, why PT?
Yeah, a lot of people believe that doing missions is for people who really do not have anything uh, important to offer in life, and so um, it's something that is reserved for poor people.
Wow.
So, and then I think their narrative is not very far from what is the reality, because I have seen missionaries who are looking poor, who are looking wretched,
Mm.
um, who are looking like they have lost hope in life,
Yeah.
and that's a fact. But I think those missionaries really do not know what they carry, you know. But generally, people tend to look at missionaries as beggars, especially as EMS missionaries.
Yes.
So when they come into a church, people are expecting them to ask them for money, to beg for money, to tell them about one problem or the other. So that's really why I mentioned that. So that has really been a challenge. I've had, in fact, I remember somebody, he's clergy,
Okay.
and he said, he came to my office and he was like, I don't really, I spoke to the VC of one university, and I'm thinking he could just help you secure a place as a graduate assistant. You shouldn't be wasting here.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, one of my cousins, sent some what do you call them? More like an application form online for me to fill in and just get something, because he believed that that's a better offer. than doing missions.
Okay, so I'm guessing that you're actually finding fulfillment in what you're doing.
I
in
am.
missions. Oh,
I've always known that I have a call.
yeah.
Yeah, just that for me, answering the call did not mean that I should come to a seminary.
Okay, so talking about call, right? How did you know you were called? You get stories. I know of someone who said he got to know that he was supposed to be a pastor because in his dream a goat told him that he should go to the seminary, and then you get. So how did you get to the point where you just knew that this is what God wants for me, and I'm definitely going to obey this?
Uh, is it fortunately or unfortunately for me, there was no goat in my dream to tell me
Okay.
that one of the stories my mom would always tell me, because she was in the choir,
Okay.
and she said I had this obsession with being in church.
Oh wow.
Yes, I always wanted to be in church, and so I gave my life to Christ quite early, and then I cannot point out to a scene where I got a call per se, but there was a pull towards church, towards doing God's work. So quite earlier in life, again, I discovered my spiritual gifts, and my spiritual gift is in the area of teaching. So
Okay.
I discovered that whenever I came, whenever I study the Bible, I have such insights into it, and so it became clear to me that God is calling me into this, into, should I say, living by the book,
Okay.
the Bible now, right? So and then as I kept growing in my faith as a Christian, I came across scriptures in the Bible that kept emphasizing those call upon my life. And then I found myself getting into ministry little by little, and uh, my pastors and mentors and disciples just confirming those calls, in my life. So that was just it for me, right? And then of course my passion, so my passion, the pull, the people that God just puts in my life are the things that have just pointed me to this call. That yes, this is what God has called me into. And of course, as I keep growing, I keep getting this confirmation for myself
Yeah.
that this is what God is calling me into.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Really inspiring. Okay, so I'm just wondering, have you had some things, some challenges, or some things you had to struggle with as how am I going to put this? As a young person who has come into missions, you probably had your own misconceptions about missions before, and then you came in, and then you spoke about how that some people have tried to talk you out of actually doing missions. So I was just wondering, okay, say there's someone out there, a young person who is also in a fix, trying to, should I be God? Should I not? What would be your advice to young people towards missions?
One of the misconceptions I had about missions was that when I become a missionary, I am just going to remain within the corridors of the church, and that would just be it for me. But I've come to discover that there is a place for missionaries everywhere. In the academia, there's a place for missionaries. Imagine having a missionary to students on campus,
Yeah.
right? And imagine you being a missionary to intellectual people. Because again, the people you reach out to are not necessarily non-schooled people, rural people. Sometimes the mission field is found among those people who are intellectuals. So that's, as I kept growing, I got to really clear that misconception of my head that missions doesn't just put you in a place where there are unschooled people and not so smart people, you know, who need the gospel. Yeah, there are people who are smart, worldly wise, right? But they are not saved. So um, I have a sort of call towards those kind of people. I have so much interest in the area of doing apologetics. Mind you, I'm also doing humanitarian service to Christians. But outside the job description that EMS gives me, I like engaging. Right, I like engaging with young people, especially around questions that have to do with life issues and morality and God and origin, you know, and meaning in life generally, you know. So I also find that I have interest in defending the gospel in places where there are misconceptions about the gospel, you know. So those misconceptions that I had have actually been cleared. And I would say those things got cleared as I kept growing, as I kept studying, and as I kept meeting people who are helping me to dispel those false notions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, being part of EMS for how many years have you been working with EMS?
3 years.
Okay. So, being part of EMS for like 3 years, what would you suggest as strategies to reach out to more young people? So why my emphasis on young people? Because they're the future of the church and they're the future of tomorrow. And then we know about a lot of crazy things that are going on, the trans stuff, and people come to the point that they are asking questions that probably they're not getting the answers that they want to. And then with the notion that they have about missionaries, what do you feel, or no, not rather, what do you think as a young person that you are, mission organization, EMS, can do to reach out to more young people with the gospel and be accepted?
I think we need to be deliberate about sending missionaries even to our campuses and our schools. The mission field is not just in the rural areas,
Yes.
right? And I think I mentioned that earlier.
you
Yeah. So the young people need to feel the impact of missions in their lives. Then beyond that, one of the emphasis that has been placed on missions is centered around finances. So it's always bring money and bring money. And this is sending young people away because many of them are still trying to find their footing in life. They do not even have money to donate to missions. I'm not saying that they do not have little that they can put in. But you know, the call usually seem as if it is for people who have lots of money.
Yeah.
So the call is always to people who have lots of money to come and donate into missions. And so this young person feels, I'm young, I don't even have money, so I'm left out. But this young person doesn't have money, but he has time. He has skills. You know, he has some practical knowledge of some things. If you talk about being tech savvy today, the young people, you know, that's their area. You know, some of them have gone to secular universities and they studied professional courses, and those things are very useful in the field. So what if we change the call from give money to come, we are in need of your skill. We are in need of that talent that you have. Imagine a young boy who knows how to dance and is wondering, can I really use dancing as a tool to do missions? Yes. Recently I was conversing with someone who is with the New Life for All, and New Life for All has a band, you know, and you know, I was curious, like, why do you guys do this? You're supposed to go and preach the gospel. He said sometimes when you come to a terrain, you use the music and the dance to attract the people. And you know, there are people you can pull with just that simple act of dancing. And from pulling their attention, you now have their minds, and then you speak those words, those words of salvation into their life. So nothing is a waste, right? If we take this approach, I'm sure that we can get more young people interested. And another thing we should do is, you know, we should begin to speak begin to speak the language of the young people.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them may really understand our traditional ways of doing things. Not all of them they didn't grow up in the generation of hymns, where hymns was a big thing, right? So what's the style of music that appeals to them? You can reach out to them in that way. Let's stop being traditional with our methods.
Okay.
The message must remain the same,
Yeah.
but the methods may need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe that if we do that, we can get a lot of young people keen into missions.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, there's something that just kept coming back and coming back about money. That's what do you think that the mission organizations can do about this money that is not actually going to stand in the way of people joining missions? You know, you spoke earlier and you spoke about a missionary who really was haggard, and the most images of people that we're missionaries that we have is people that are really very poor. So you get the points where someone comes and then you're looking better than the person, and then the person is trying to give you Christ. If I collect your Christ, I'm actually going to be like you. Why should I be like you? Christ can't add anything to my life. So what can we do to change that narrative?
So that's a huge indictment on the church and mission agencies. We need to begin to teach our missionaries that they should look like the Christ that they are trying to present to people out there. If you present a dirty Christ for me, I would not accept it. There's nothing spiritual about appearing shabby. You know. So if Jesus were to walk on our streets, I'm sure we'll see a clean guy, right? Well starched dress, and you know, probably if he was in my days, he would wear his sneakers and jeans and all of that. You know, so we need to begin to teach our missionaries how to dress, how to appear well. You know, I'm sure that will bring a lot of appeal to the gospel. And you know, when Jesus and his disciples were conversing about the missions, the fields being ripe and ready for the harvest, you know, Jesus said the prayer should be that God should, the owner of the labor, right, should send workers into the field. The issue was not money, right? The issue was people. So I think we should begin to center on getting people's hearts attuned to mission. When someone's heart is turned to mission, then it doesn't matter how much money he has. He begins to see himself first as a missionary. So whatever he has, no matter how little, he turns it in, because he sees himself as a missionary and not just someone who donates and gives money. So the call is for people, not their money. Right? So we should define that as a church and as mission agencies.
Okay. Thank you very much for today. Thank you for your inputs to the work of mission, and thank you for what you do with EMS. You're really an inspiration to young people out there, I know. And I pray that more young people are going to join the space and we're going to advance the kingdom of God together. And so, viewers, thank you for today. Thank you for being with us from the beginning of this segment to the end. I hope that you follow us on our social media platforms. If you're not yet our follower, please follow us, like us, repost our post, and tell your friends to also follow us and repost our post so that we'll advance the kingdom of God together. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.